General Hospital, Willow's fury, Nina's ruin, and a wedding in shambles. The July 25th episode unfolds in a week that was supposed to celebrate love and new beginnings. General Hospital descended into chaos and heartbreak as long-buried secrets surfaced and relationships unraveled under the weight of betrayal. The episode that aired Friday, July 25th, wasn't simply about a wedding. It became a stage for shattered illusions and fiery confrontations, most notably between Willow and Nina, as years of tension boiled over in the most public of moments. The day began with mounting anxiety as Drew prepared for his wedding with unshakable optimism. He wore his best smile while talking to Scout, confidently dreaming of a happy future with Willow. The church buzzed with anticipation, but there was an undercurrent of dread, especially as Willow had not yet arrived. Behind closed doors, the bride was confronting a ghost from her past, one that had a very real, devastating presence. In the bridal suite, Nina's presence was not one of maternal pride, but of confession and collapse. Pressed by Willow for the truth, Nina admitted that she had been having an affair with Drew from April to August of the previous year. Her voice trembled, her eyes filled with tears, but no amount of remorse could erase the enormity of what she had done. Willow, who had loved Drew with all her heart, stood there devastated, learning that her mother had not only betrayed her but had knowingly shared a bed with the man she was about to marry. The emotional weight of that revelation crushed any possibility of forgiveness. Nina tried to spin her actions as a moment of weakness, an attempt to lure Drew away before she knew how much he mattered to Willow, but every word she said only deepened Willow's disgust. Willow's fury turned volcanic when Nina suggested she had ended things with Drew for Willow's sake. Willow reminded her that what Nina really did was gamble with her daughter's family and happiness, all in the name of selfish desire. When Nina begged for understanding, Willow struck back harder. She had already lost her child, and Nina had played a role in that devastation. There was no place left in her heart for mercy. Willow declared she would never forgive Nina, accusing her of being the final wedge that destroyed any semblance of peace in her life. The emotional blow sent Nina reeling, but the damage extended beyond the bridal suite. At the church, guests waited, sensing something wasn't right. Ava, always attuned to tension, tried to piece together what was going on while simultaneously lashing out at Rick for getting too cozy with Liz. Her distraction was momentary. Soon enough, she too would realize that the ceremony was at risk of falling apart. Elsewhere in Port Charles, another storm brewed between Marco and Sunny. Inside Marco's hotel room, Sunny paid a visit laced with veiled threats, warning Marco to leave town and return to Miami. Marco, however, was unmoved. Despite their complicated past, Marco admitted he no longer held Sunny responsible for Natalia's death. It was a moment of surprising vulnerability, one that might have softened the situation. Until Lucas barged in, furious at Sunny's continued interference. Lucas made it clear he wouldn't tolerate another confrontation, threatening to go back to the police if Sunny crossed the line again. Marco, perhaps trying to avoid escalation, confessed that he hadn't reported Sunny's previous actions. Lucas respected Marco's autonomy, but it was clear he still thirsted for justice, especially when it came to Sunny's past crimes. Tensions escalated even further when Sunny later confronted Carly, suspicious that she may have said something to Lucas that would jeopardize him. Carly deflected the accusation but vented her own frustrations, exasperated by both men who seemed to orbit her life like twin disasters. Meanwhile, at the Metro Court pool, a quieter battle played out between sisters. Christina was none too pleased with Molly's flirtation with Cody. The sight of Molly rubbing sunscreen on Cody set Christina on edge, prompting her to manipulate the situation. She sent Michael to distract Cody so she could privately warn Molly, subtly suggesting that Cody might be more interested in Molly's family wealth than in Molly herself. Molly brushed it off, but Christina's concern lingered, especially when Molly later hesitated to let Cody reapply the sunscreen. Whether Christina's instincts were justified or driven by jealousy remains to be seen, but cracks had certainly formed in Molly's comfort with Cody. Back at the church, Drew's blissful ignorance persisted. He gushed to Scout about how their lives were about to change for the better, completely unaware that upstairs, the woman he loved was drowning in betrayal. Willow stood paralyzed in the bridal suite, her thoughts consumed by the revelation. She didn't want to walk down that aisle. Not because she had stopped loving Drew, but because the Drew she thought she knew had vanished. He had been sleeping with her mother, and all those intimate moments she had treasured were now tainted. Her grief was complicated by the fact that she had already lost a child, already mourned too much. And now, she was left with Drew, not as a partner, but as the last remnant of a dream that had long since collapsed. In her pain, Willow voiced a shocking thought: perhaps Nellie was the lucky one. Nellie had died never knowing that Nina was her mother. In some twisted way, that ignorance had spared her the betrayal Willow now felt. Those words cut through Nina like a blade. She had spent so long trying to repair her fractured relationships, and in a single moment, everything disintegrated. Willow didn't want comfort. She didn't want reconciliation. She wanted Nina out of her life for good. By the time Nina stumbled away from the suite, her makeup streaked with tears and her heart shredded, the wedding was already cursed. She found Liesel and told her she needed to leave, needed to escape the wreckage before the whole church burned with truth. Her words were cryptic, her expression hollow. Liesel, ever protective, sensed that something unspeakable had occurred. As guests fidgeted in the pews and Drew grew anxious, Willow finally made her way down the aisle. The image of the glowing bride was a lie. She wore a mask for the sake of decorum, but inside, she was hollowed out. There would be no happy ending here, only a union forged in deception and held together by ashes. Whether she would go through with the vows remained an open question. Every step she took toward Drew was a step away from the person she had once been. The episode closed with more questions than answers. Would Willow expose Drew's affair mid-ceremony? Would she confront him privately, or was her silence a temporary mask for a deeper plan of revenge? Could Sonny's escalating conflicts with Marco and Lucas unravel his empire? Was Christina right to suspect Cody's motives? And what of Nina, now stripped of her dignity, her daughter's love, and any illusion of redemption? What was meant to be a celebration became a reckoning, and the fallout would echo through Port Charles in the weeks to come. The veil had lifted, not just from Willow's eyes, but from the fragile facade that so many in town had clung to. And once exposed to truth, nothing would ever be the same again.